My name's John Lundstrom. I'm on a Democratic ticket for the sheriff's candidate here in Caldwell County. I've been in this county. I've lived here my whole life. I've raised my children here. I've got 3 children, 2 stepdaughters, 9 grandchildren. They drive me to push further. This county is important to me. We love this county. And I'm just trying to step in and do what my part is to make it a better county and a safer county for my children and grandchildren. I'd like for this county to be as safe and as comfortable for our children as it was when we was growing up, to get out in the yards and play and do and not have to worry about the things that's going on. I'm not asking you to consider me for any other reason besides the point that I feel like I can make a difference and that my love and commitment to this county.
Question 1. What do you perceive as the major issue facing Caldwell County that can be addressed by the sheriff's office? And how would you use your office to address the problem?
I think some of the major problems facing our county, if you watch the newspapers and the jails and stuff, is of course the drugs and our theft. Drugs is really a big factor in our county. We see it every day. It even affects our own families at times and in places, and none of us is immune from it. I've been through it through my family. I'm sure some of y'all have, and I see it increasing here. And I see from some of the points that, I hate to get into this part, but as far as a lot of the free money that was given out and done through COVID, which was used, a lot of that stuff is used to further, of course, that addiction. The theft rings, I mean, there's lots of thefts going on. I believe there was a page posted one time on Facebook about, I think Mr. Roy Jean had posted it or made the page about thefts in the area to watch out around different areas and things that was going on. I know when I was growing up as a kid, we knew where we could speed, we knew where we could go, we knew what we could do, because usually we knew where the officers was at and hanging out. We knew those areas we could get away with our little minor things that we did. I planned on using that office to better update the equipment, better update the officers, more patrols in those in those high areas where the risk is. Visibility means a lot. If you're visible, you're a deterrent. People says, well, being visible there will deter it somewhere else, then we'll be visible there. We've got to be out, we've got to be visible, we've got to be seen. We'll equip the equipment, officers with body cams, cruisers with cams. We'll update the systems in the cruisers where the officers doesn't have to come in as much to do. I've been looking around other sheriff's departments. Their systems in their cars allows them to do everything from their car. They can find out anything on anyone at any given point through their vehicle. Some of these systems even alerts the dispatch when that officer leaves their vehicle. They get out, they get in. There is a constant contact with those officers. They know where they're at all times. I believe also tracking devices on the vehicles to where we could pinpoint those at any given time would be efficient to keep our community and our officers safe. The safety of our community and our officers would be the main priority as in doing this, but I would also go to work with First Step with Chief King over here and get a better working relationship between the city and the county. We need to be on the same page. We need to work together. We're all in it together to make this a better community.
Question 2. Will your department provide 24/7 patrols for the citizens of Caldwell County if you're elected? If your answer is yes, please explain how the department would accomplish this within the sheriff's budget, and what are some expectations you would have for those deputies on night patrol. If your answer is no, please explain why.
24/7 patrol is what I'm hearing, knocking on doors and getting out. They'd like to see 24/7 patrol. through many researches I've looked at and done, feasibly from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. is not feasible for a patrol. Most time that's when everything is quiet and dead. I believe that 24/7 is necessary at times, holidays, special occasions, special events, but that is something that I can't just answer sitting here. I'd have to kind of look into the budget more so, which I've got a copy from the treasurer down here. I need to look into it more detailed. I believe any of the candidates would have to look into it and see if there's anything that could be cut, what would have to be adjusted, and what could be done to make that feasible. If that did happen, to make sure that it was being done, and the car cams, the tracking devices, and that kind of stuff in the vehicles would assure that they're out patrolling. They're in these high drug areas. They're in these high crime theft areas, that they are where they are needed to be. As far as the funding goes, I believe we need to get a little stricter on what we're doing here, even through their courts, through the judges and so on, as far as search and seizure. Seize the property, petition the court once the case is over, turn it over to the county, do courthouse sealed bids, sell at the courthouse doors, whatever, and that funds go into Caldwell County, into the Sheriff's Department, Caldwell County funds, wherever it needs to be. And then again, like I said, I'm not in the department now, I'm not into law enforcement, so I would have to sit down and research the budget, look through, and I think anyone that comes in, whether they're in law enforcement or not, doesn't need to make hasty decisions on just making immediate changes. They need to study the department, study the budget, study what's going on, and make fair and just adjustments from that point. Anybody from outside can look inside and say, hey, this is what's going to have to be done. This is what I will do. And I don't think that's a fair assessment till you're actually inside, looking at it from the inside instead of the outside. I know I can use my restaurant for an example. You can come in and tell me what you want to do there, what needs to be done, but until you're actually in there, standing over that grill, making the orders, doing this, you can't make that fair assessment until you're in there actually doing it. I value all the opinions that I've heard out here, and I know there's many of them that can't be done. There's several that can be done. Then again, like I said, we'd have to sit down and look at the budget to see where any cuts would be.
Question 3. In the last decade, there's been a lot of discussion about the Second Amendment and gun control. What is your position on the Second Amendment? Please include in your answer if you would enforce an executive order that directed law enforcement to confiscate specific weapons.
I believe the Second Amendment was written by our forefathers to protect us as citizens, and I believe it was intended to protect us more so against our government. It was also meant for self-protection, home protection, family protection. I also feel that a mandate is not law, that to make that into a law, the Constitution had to be rewritten and make it into a law. And if that mandate came across my desk, I would probably deputize every legal law-abiding citizen of Caldwell County as a deputy, or I'd stand for prosecution, but I would not enforce anything that went against our Constitution or against our Second Amendment. I feel that I've packed a weapon since I was 14 years old. Used properly, used what it's meant for, I have no issues with those. The law does not state any certain type of weapons in the Constitution. It said any weapon that would fit and regulate a regulated militia for the petition or for takeover of our government. I would not stand for any mandate that went against our constitutional right to bear arms.
Question 4. Would you establish a code of ethics for your employees? If your answer is yes, please explain some of the points you would include. If your answer is no, please explain why not.
Yeah, I believe there needs, I mean, we've got to have ethics, we've got to have morals, we've got to be able to stand on the principles. I would hold, as an officer, accountable more so than I would probably a citizen. A lot that I am getting out door to door is that our officers are supposed to uphold the law and be held at a higher standard than anyone else. I feel like some people doesn't feel that's being done, but yes, there would be ethics in our department, and there would be consequences if they didn't. I think some of the things that goes on in any life, any job, any business, whatever, shouldn't be tolerated. But as an elected official, there should be certain ethics that's dealt with. I mean, we set a higher standard to the public, to the people we represent.
And in closing, is there anything else you would like to add?
I'd just like to say that I'm not a politician. I am just a regular citizen. I own and run of businesses. I see a need in our community, and I'm no way saying I'm experienced to do that, but I'm also saying we have elected many sheriffs in our past without experience that has done a great job. We've also elected many that has had experiences that hasn't done a great job. So this could go two different ways. Sometimes experience isn't always best. Sometimes it's new ideals, fresh ideals in any business. And I know that using this as a business is not, but we've got to represent the public. We've got to bring things in to protect our county. And some of the things that I'm hearing now is going on is a little bit childish as far as the way our election is going. We've got candidates that's pulling up other candidates' signs. We've got candidates that are calling homeowners and fussing because they allowed somebody else put a sign in their yard. That's not ethical. I appreciate the citizens of Caldwell County that has allowed me to place signs in their yards, and I'm not a bit upset because somebody else is there. I appreciate the community's involvement in letting everybody get their name out, their word out, of what they're doing and what they stand for. This and the right-of-ways. I hear a lot about the signs on the right-of-ways. The very people that's running for these offices are breaking the law by putting signs out on right-of-ways and poles. And that's part of the ethical question. I mean, we've got to stay in ethics and abide by the law just as well as we expect everyone else to do so. I'm asking for 4 years to make a difference. I'm not asking for retirement. I'm not asking for anything other than that. I'm looking for 4 years to show that somebody can come in and make a difference in our community if they love our community as much as I do. Thank you.
Mr. Lundstrom, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Sean Young. I'm running for Sheriff of Caldwell County. I just kind of wanted to introduce myself a little bit to those of you that may not know me or never met me, know who I am but not met me. Just want to say hi and thank you. A little bit about myself. I'm born and raised here in Caldwell County. I raised my family and my children here. I've worked in law enforcement going on, I guess, into my second decade now. Hoping the good Lord see me through another 15 years of it. That's my plan. Come here today to answer some questions and get some of y'all out there to know a little bit about me and my opinion on things. And any questions y'all may have, I would appreciate the response, reaching out through social media, or talking to a family member, give me a call, however. I appreciate that. I am currently, I'm a SRO unit, school resource officer for Trent County schools. I work for the Cadiz Police Department, and I also do that, and I do law enforcement too. I work the streets some. I feel like those of you that don't know me, I'm very interested in being the sheriff for y'all, for this great community, a community that we're blessed to have, and people I think know that from the last tornado that come through here and the ice storms, and how people have reached out and helped one another and checked on people, and it's just we have an amazing community here, and blessed to be a part of it, and would love to continue to serve at home as well too. And so just thank y'all for tuning into this and checking me out, and I appreciate it. And I guess I'm gonna get started with this questionnaire whenever they're ready.
Question 1. What do you perceive as the major issue facing Caldwell County that can be addressed by the Sheriff's Office, and how would you use your office to address the problem?
Merced, I feel like no matter where I go, either on duty or off duty, and I run into people and stop to chat and visit, and we get to talking. You know, it seems like it always leads into sometimes part of my job, and we get to talking about things going on in the communities, the areas, and it seems like drugs always seems to be the main thing, or drug-related crimes and how it's affecting our community and our citizens, and in the crimes that it brings with it, and you know, the growing drug problem. It just, you know, it seems to be always come up in conversation. So to me, I think that is one of our bigger issues and concerns for our community and our younger, you know, our kids growing up here, and it's just something that I like to personally, you know, make an attack on the war on drugs myself and my department. And if I was elected, you know, sheriff, I would like for my team and deputies to attack that and address that situation abruptly. Let's see. We all know someone. You know, drugs are a tough issue because we all know someone, or drugs that affected someone or ourselves. You know, tragically, dramatically, or people that we loved, our family, friends, co-workers. You know, drugs just have destroyed many lives, and it's a continued ongoing problem that needs to stop and be addressed in our community. By saying that, this is always a difficult subject to address because it is hard to provide evidentiary data and correct numbers on the drug problems in our community and the related drug crimes that brings with it. It's hard to keep stats on that. Most intel on the drugs and the drug activity in our communities in our area comes from our citizens, and you know, our people out paying attention and watching and keeping an eye, and then reporting it to officers and coming into the departments and reporting those issues. So please, I beg the citizens community, continue doing so, because y'all are a great tool and an asset to fighting drugs and crime. Because what y'all don't realize is a lot of crimes, regardless of it drug related or not, are solved by the citizens and the leads and the help they give law enforcement agencies, and that's everywhere, you know, all across the country. So please continue, and thank you for doing that, and keep that up. Experience has taught me that layman reports, statistics, charts are not always correct, or they're not always honest when it comes to drug reporting, drug activity, and drug-related to crime, drug-related crimes. What I do know, Caldwell does not have the law enforcement intervention that we should have for looking into these kind of complaints of drug activity. The department, the officers have little to no training in this issue or these matters. For the totality and the reality of the problems in the community, they need better training. To help battle this problem, if I'm elected, I will get my deputies trained, better educated in drugs, the war on drugs in the street, the new drugs that are out there, the way they process new drugs. I would love to add a K-9 unit and team to the department because I have seen the effects, direct effects, and just the overwhelming difference it makes having a K-9 and drug dog.
Question 2. Will your department provide 24/7 patrols for the citizens of Caldwell County if you are elected? If your answer is yes, please explain how the department would accomplish this within the sheriff's budget, and what are some expectations you would have for those deputies on night patrol. If your answer is no, please explain why.
All right. Yes, Chad, my goal is to have 24-hour coverage and patrol for the citizens of Caldwell County. I would love to see the office be able to provide 24/7 patrol and coverage. I'm not entirely sure as to why we do not have 24-hour coverage in 2022. If it is due to the lack of budgetary funds, then I don't have a total solution, as the budget is subject to change yearly to meet the ongoing needs of the county. If it is a management issue, I think I can fix or figure some of this out if given the chance. However, I do know how to get closer to having that coverage regardless of the root problem, and make you citizens of Caldwell County have a more available and accessible sheriff's office and sheriff deputies. Caldwell County deserves a sheriff that is willing to work. I intend on being a working sheriff. Caldwell County does not have enough deputies to provide 21st century law enforcement to the community without the sheriff and all admin deputies pulling their weight on the streets. What that is, the community already has 2 more units on patrol with myself and whoever my admin is, and it did not cost the citizens of Caldwell County a dime. Working under my leadership, there will be less of a need to have half the office staff, deputies and all, on day shift just to do the day-to-day operations of the office. We also have additional support of our local departments. Both departments, referencing the Princeton Police Department, both departments need to work together on this issue, close the gap and mend fences if there is any, to close the gap and help fight this part for our county and our tax-paying citizens. Because I will be willing to work with them on my end. So we can make a better, a safer community and have a greater future for our children and families here at Caldwell County. I have already reached out to local and outside agencies to help supplement some of these calls. I'm already working on that. I'm not even through the primaries yet. But to hope that we can have more deputies and 24-hour coverage for Caldwell rather than after-hour call-outs and deputies on call, the department is going to be better at recruiting qualified deputies, retaining these deputies for long-term, and ensuring quality law enforcement service for our community. If elected, I will seek in implementing a crime hotline that will be set up with a phone number to an answering machine 24 hours, 7 days a week, that will be anonymous for reporting drugs, crimes, suspicious activity, or anything that you think might be related to crime. If you wish to leave your name and number, I will possibly work on implementing rewards that lead to arrest and convictions of crimes related to these calls.
Question 3. In the last decade, there's been a lot of discussion about the Second Amendment and gun control. What is your position on the Second Amendment? And please include in your answer if you would enforce an executive order that directed law enforcement to confiscate specific weapons.
Okay, Chad, tough one. On my law enforcement career, I have seen laws that I do particularly not agree with. Even if a person is right, does not always mean it's legal. The Second Amendment is one of the amendments that I truly love. There should be any question as to where a legitimate law enforcement officer stands on this matter, in my opinion. Any executive order to confiscate guns from citizens that have not broken the law or been subject to due process procedures is just plain tyranny, ordered by a tyrant. And I will not support tyranny of any form at any time. And that's all I have to say on that issue.
Question 4. Would you establish a code of ethics for your employees? If your answer is yes, please explain some of the points you would include. And if your answer is no, please explain why or why not.
Yes, I believe I would adapt a code of ethics and have each employee sign them. Because I believe in this line of work, we should hold ourselves to a higher standard, not that we're better. Just I believe we should hold ourselves to a higher standard. We are dealt a great responsibility, and taking people's civil rights away is a great responsibility. And I believe you should hold yourself accountable, for that in your own self, and have some self-respect and carrying legitimate love for people in your community, and be tough when you have to. But yes, I would implement an ethics and probably also maybe moral code to that as well.
And in closing, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, I'd just like to thank y'all for your time, for my opportunity to do this, Chad. I thank you for that. And I would just like to humbly ask for the people out there for your vote, your support, and just thank you.
Mr. Young, thank you for your time.
Hello everyone, my name is John Pettitt. I'm currently the jailer here in Caldwell County in Princeton, Kentucky. I'm on my third term as jailer here. Before that, I worked at the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office as a deputy, and also I worked for the Princeton Police Department as a Princeton police officer, and I've also worked as a deputy jailer at Caldwell County Jail. I've been in the community all my life. I did most of my time in law enforcement in those three areas. I started policing in 1989 as an auxiliary police officer here in Princeton, and I went from there to part-time. I'm good about the ability, I guess, to get along with every other agency. I have been fortunate and blessed to be part of most agencies here in this community. And during that time, I've made a lot of friends, made a lot of acquaintance who have helped me along in my goals of what I've tried to achieve. Anytime there's a question for me, feel free to contact me. You can contact me at the jail at any time. Thank you.
Question 1. What do you perceive as the major issue facing Caldwell County that can be addressed by the Sheriff's Office? How would you use your office to address the problem?
Right now we have a major drug problem. 98% of the people that come through my jail have some type of drug-related issue. With that being said, how the Sheriff's Department, I feel, that could benefit or could help the community is, the old saying goes that it takes a whole village to raise a child. In this case, it takes a whole community to get involved to help combat the drug problem here. And I'm old school. I believe in community-oriented policing. In other words, I believe that the people of the community need to know who you are, what you stand for. And by doing this, when I policed here, I knew where most every farmer lived. I knew where most every teacher lived. And I knew where most pastors live and what church they were associated with. And I use this because those are the people who deal with the public the most. And those are the ones that can help you. I believe that the sheriff's deputies need to go out into the community and be part of that community. There's too much separation right now between the law enforcement and the community. It should be as one. I believe my experience will help bring that back to where it needs to be. There's nothing wrong with stopping by a farmer in his field, talking to him. Give him a card, tell him who you are. Let him know that he can trust you, and let him know that he can depend on you. And the same way goes with other people in general. Most people will have trouble talking to you if they don't know who you are. But in most places, you only come in contact with people under bad circumstances. I believe in community-oriented policing, to where you talk to people that, in a good term. Like I said, it's all about getting back to the community and getting their help.
Question 2. Will your department provide 24/7 patrols for the citizens of Caldwell County if you are elected? If your answer is yes, please explain how the department would accomplish this within the sheriff's budget, and what are some expectations you would have for those deputies on night patrol? If your answer is no, please explain why.
Yes, on the 24-hour. And how you accomplish that is everybody works. Not certain individuals, but everyone. Everyone takes calls. Everyone works accidents. Everyone gets involved. Right now, the court systems is paying bailiffs up to $15 an hour. Utilize the bailiffs. You need to be out on the streets with the community and involved in the community. One of my biggest things would be for my deputies to be trained in how to deal with certain circumstances that they might come in contact with. And when I say that, there is a lot of times that you'll get involved with a subject or someone that says my son or my daughter or my child, whoever, my brother, my sister, and they're on drugs or they're a bad alcoholic or and not understand what to do. Not everyone that comes in contact with police understand the system, and it's your job to teach them, to instruct them. And I will see to it that every deputy understands this and does their part to help the citizens when they come involved with that. There's a lot of people out there that's willing to help and that's qualified to help, and it's your job as a deputy to see to it that those demands are met. And that's how I would see to it that 24-hour coverage would be, is everybody plays a part. Everybody works.
Question 3. In the last decade, there's been a lot of discussion about the Second Amendment and gun control. What is your position on the Second Amendment? And please include in your answer if you would enforce an executive order that directed law enforcement to confiscate specific weapons.
As your sheriff, I would take an oath that I've taken many times otherwise that states that I will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. And that says it all. The right to bear arms is in the Constitution, and I will defend it, period. There's no ands, if, buts, or maybes about it. You take an oath of office. That oath of office should stand for something, and it stands for the right to bear arms. And there should not be a discussion about it.
Question 4. Would you establish a code of ethics for your employees? If your answer is yes, please explain some of the points you would include. If your answer is no, please explain why not.
Absolutely. Practice what you preach. You can't be out here doing things that are unethical or illegal and then expect the respect from the community if you're doing the same thing. And yes, a code of ethics would be absolutely something that I would put in play, and I would demand that my deputies uphold that.
Is there anything you would like to add in closing?
Yes, the community-oriented policing is something that is old school, and a lot of people has forgotten about it. But like I said earlier, it takes a whole village to raise a child, is what they say. In this case, it takes a whole community to help rid the drug problem that we have. We cannot do it alone. And by getting involved in your community, with your community, that is a way to help deter what is going on. Don't worry about the court system because you have no control over it. But as a deputy, you would have control over doing the right thing all the time. Thank you.
Mr. Pettitt, thank you for your time.
My name is Trent Fox, James Trent Fox. I am a detective with the City of Princeton. I've been employed there for 15 years, and I am currently running for sheriff on the Democratic ticket, number 4 on the ballot. I'm born and raised here, from here. This is where I've always worked, made sure that I invested back in my community, and I'm here today to try to give a little bit of information or background about my thoughts and stances. And I actually invite anybody outside of this to, if you have questions, by all means, ask me. I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Question 1. What do you perceive as the major issue facing Caldwell County that can be addressed by the Sheriff's Office, and how would you use your office to address the problem?
The major issues I see in Caldwell County would be a lack of efficiency and the restriction of services. Every candidate's going to tell you that drugs and crime are a problem, and yes, they are. Drugs and crime have been a problem since the beginning of human history. You're not going to eliminate them. The only thing you can do is combat them, as to which I and most of the other candidates have been doing most of their career. That being said, I think by no longer farming out or restricting services to other agencies, by the Sheriff's Department investigating major crimes, serious crimes on its own, and not farming out paperwork to other agencies where it's not their responsibility, you can create a more efficient Sheriff's Department. And that being said, by creating a more efficient Sheriff's Department, you actually end up creating a better patrol. Once you create a better patrol, you provide an increased amount of security to our county. You actually begin to work better with other agencies. Once you begin to do better, once you begin to have a better coverage, you actually end up having a better community, and a better community is the result of a good thing for all of us. It's what makes us as a better community, raising better people in our community. And I think that is part of the responsibility of the sheriff.
Question 2. Will your department provide 24/7 patrols for the citizens of Caldwell County if you are elected? If your answer is yes, please explain how the department would accomplish this within the sheriff's budget, and what are some expectations you would have for those deputies on night patrol. If your answer is no, please explain why.
Absolutely. 24/7 coverage, I think, should be mandatory in today's day and age. That is what we are paying tax dollars to the general fund, which in turn pays to the sheriff's departments to do. It's a sad thing when you have an emergency and you have to have a state trooper come from Muhlenberg. Sometimes that hour drive is detrimental when seconds count. I'd much rather have a deputy in the community working it. That being said, there's a number of ways to do that. First and foremost, if I have to do it until it can be established, I will. I still continue to do this. Second of all, I think one thing that we could look at, and again back to the efficiency issue, is currently our deputies are responsible for court and transport. We have one bailiff. Kentucky Revised Statute actually provides something called a court security officer, as to which AOC, the administrative office of the courts, will actually pay a stipend to the Sheriff's Department for each deputy they use. So instead of having a $16 an hour deputy work court and do transports, you could have what the AOC would pay $9, $10 an hour to do court transports. That frees up your deputy to do night patrols. That being said, out of the sheriff's budget with it currently being spent to have a better patrol, you may actually even be able to raise the stipend to, let's say, maybe $15. That way you now have a $15 court security officer taking care of both transports, warrants, security of the courthouse and the courtroom itself, and your deputies will be actually pay them a better wage. And you get this thing, when Don Weedman hired me as a police officer, he told me I don't want report takers, I want investigators. And I admire the man for that. That being said, if you can put that to our deputies, that would be a great thing. As far as what they would be doing on nights, I'd like to see the churches checked. That's something that used to be done. I would like the cemeteries be checked. I know people go to cemeteries and do nefarious things. Sometimes not all that nefarious, sometimes slightly more nefarious. But if there's nobody out moving, then those things need to be checked. Fredonia is basically just left in the dark all night long without any police presence except for maybe somebody going home. That's an area that could be patrolled. And even not just Fredonia. We have Lamasco, we have part of the north end of the county towards the Dawson Springs area. We do actually have, community inside Dawson Springs. You have to go through Hopkins County to get to it. Those are areas that should be patrolled. That being said, if you have a response going out all night long, you're going to find things. You're going to find things on I-69, I-24, and that right there comes into a whole lot of our drug trafficking issue. As a police officer, I've always said I work the city, but if something's occurring a mile outside of the city, it's going to occur in the city. If you can stop crime before it gets into Caldwell County, if you can stop major drug transactions that are coming through our community, they're going to be coming to our community. That would be a great thing, I think, for our deputies to be looking at. And I think our deputies are more than capable of doing so.
Question 3. In the last decade, there's been a lot of discussion about the Second Amendment and gun control. What is your position on the Second Amendment? Please include in your answer if you would enforce an executive order that directed law enforcement to confiscate specific weapons.
You know, I have and I think a lot of people have this, we have little things we hold on to through our life. When I was in high school, I had a political science teacher, and he used to hand out the Constitution of the United States. I actually swiped his hall pass when I was in high school, and I've carried it with me in my patrol car and on my desk for the past 15 years of policing. And I think it's best said, very simply put, as far as the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. Period. I can't phrase that any better. It was done by much better men than I, and I think that should stand.
Question 4. Would you establish a code of ethics for your employees? If your answer is yes, please explain some of the points you would include. And if your answer is no, please explain why not.
Now, that is a good question. So the thing about ethics policies, not to be confused with morality, every peace officer that goes through Department of Criminal Justice training goes through something called Peace Officer Professional Standards, POPs. During that, you actually sign a code of ethics saying that you will uphold that. So regardless of whether there's policy or not, peace officers should be held to that standard of ethics. That being said, policies are great. To make an analogy, when it comes to policies, they're like a guideline. They're like a rudder on a boat. You can make a whole bunch of policies, but that boat will flounder without a pilot. You have to have somebody implement it. You have to have somebody stand behind it. Nobody fears the wolf because he has teeth. They fear the wolf because they will use them. Sometimes you can't just manage an agency, you have to lead it. Sometimes you have to be not afraid to make people mad. I've done it, I've seen it. It doesn't necessarily make me the best politician, but then again, maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need somebody who's willing to enforce and not be a politician. Maybe we need somebody to turn around and implement the policies and make sure the guidelines are followed through and adhered to.
In closing, is there anything that you would like to add?
The only thing I'd like to add is it has been my pleasure to serve this community. I will continue to serve this community regardless of the outcome of the election, and I will do so with the fervor that I've always had. I've never left. I've been offered better jobs. I've been offered better paying jobs, but they don't serve the community in which I've grown up in. Sometimes giving back is just being able to be in the community that supports you and you support. A lot of people have had interactions with law enforcement, some good, some bad. Some have gotten tickets and they didn't like it. Some have called the cops and they ended up being the ones that were ultimately taken to jail. This occurs with every peace officer. But I can assure you one thing, when it comes to that moment, when you need the police, if you need law enforcement, if you need that hand in the night to help you, we'll respond. I've always done that and I will continue to do that. And with that, I hope for your consideration to continue to allow me to do that for not just the city, but all the county residents. I'm number 4 on the ballot, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Fox, thank you for your time.
Thank you all.